Hi, I'm going to be talking about the best tips that you could have on your resume if you are applying for a sales position. You can also check out my website called nexajob.com.au. Just going through some of the best tips. So if you're applying for any of these roles, account manager, business development manager, sales representative, sales account manager, sales assistant, so any of those things, if you're highlighting your previous achievements in terms of your sales targets or major clients won, say for instance, when I used to be, for myself, when I used to be a sales manager for a hotel, I had won a tender that I followed up through my relationship building skills, and it was one, probably over $1 million worth to the actual hotel. So I would place that on somewhere on my key skills on my resume. Just shows what I contributed in terms of my sales abilities and what I built up. So those are the sort of points that somebody or a recruiter or directly with the actual company is very, very interested to see. So if you've got any sort of examples like that, and even with account management, if you say, for instance, kept a large account through your activities, so really drawing out those sort of abilities. And I know sometimes we have this tall poppy syndrome where we don't want to be seen as saying that me, look how wonderful I am. But when you're in going for a sales opportunity, you really do need to place those things so that you have a solid presentation of your skills, and especially in an interview and as well as on your resume. So what else can I say? So I would probably, in terms of your actual resume, it's a little bit hard if I'm not actually viewing your resume, because I can see pretty quickly where people's focuses are or what their strengths are, because I've literally viewed well over 1 million resumes in my time of being a recruiter, and generally my recruitment experience is from anything from sort of your 55K right up to a couple of hundred K type of roles. Not so much in the executive CEO or that CFO type of level, but certainly anything below that. There's some really great templates out there for resumes, and I would definitely highlight some of those key skills and have a key skills bullet point. Probably keep it to around about sort of 10, and place some of those those technical skills that you have in terms of won this account, how much it was worth. Then obviously you could probably put a bit of soft skills in there in terms of what your account relationship building, business development, building rapport easily. A lot of those sort of soft skill bullet points will be really judged at a job interview as such. Try to keep it technical, and even maybe put something in terms of what sales packages, computer packages that you've actually used. Sometimes there are recruitment agencies that will search based on, say for instance like a software called Salesforce, or those types of systems that might be relevant for the actual business, but it's not a huge thing if you don't put that on there. So what else can we talk about? I would definitely, if you're in a sales position, it's really that you is selling you. So, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to scratch. It's not looking like a Facebook profile, that you have all of the relevant information on LinkedIn, and business attire, whether if you with either a tie or a shirt, or or something very casual with a nice scarf, depending on what you wear. So make sure that it does look professional. That because I see so many as a recruiter, what I would generally do is I would obviously advertise for a position online. Resumes come in, I'll shortlist who I think has the most relevant details, and then I would jump onto LinkedIn immediately because I want to see what this person looks like. So if you're putting it out there, looking like a goth or, all those sort of things that don't look professional or is going to reflect back onto the opportunity. It might be a good as a goth if it's working in a store that requires that type. But what I'm saying for more the professional type of white collar office roles might not generally be a fit. So have that professional profile and get somebody else to have a look at it if you need any sort of feedback. And also keep your Facebook clean. I look at Facebook as well as a senior recruiter and also executive recruiter. I'll check out LinkedIn. I will check out Facebook, any social media stuff. I will try to be searching if I need some further information. If your resume is pretty solid, generally I don't need to, but if there's some questionable areas that I'm not 100% sure of, I will definitely go to those other avenues to see whether it's something that I'm comfortable to maybe bring in for a interview face-to-face. So hopefully I've kind of drilled in terms of how important those areas are. You don't necessarily need a photo on your resume. I personally prefer it not. But, there's a lot of people that do jump on and put their photo on there, each to their own, really. In terms of the actual layout with your resume, I know there's different parts of the world that have different formats for resumes. I know over in the UK they focus on achievements in terms of where they've worked. In Australia, it's all around responsibilities. I'm really not quite sure about the US, but certainly from what I see is, try and keep it, 2 to 3 pages long, not 8 pages. And you can just really summarise some of, if you've been in the workforce for a long time, you can summarise towards the end of your, more the beginning of your career. But at the end of the resume, you can pretty much summarise that information. So let's go into the actual, so you've got a solid resume, you've got a solid presentation out there in terms of your LinkedIn profile. If you choose to have one, your Facebook is clean in terms of, it's not sort of portraying a different image to what you're trying to be perceived in the workforce, and you're invited in for a job interview. So let's go through some of those points. And I would, number one, highly recommend, if you're not a keen person in an interview, is I would definitely try and get somebody to interview you. Now, what you would like to probably do is have an interview sheet with the questions and then look at what you're going to answer with them. I have prepped so many people a day or two before their actual interview, and it helps enormously. It has been a massive, massive help to them. So what I would actually do, there's heaps of interview questions online which you can grab and pick and choose. We generally go by an area called interview technique called STAR, which is in your response to the behavioural question is tell me about the situation. what tasks were involved, what actions you did, and what were the results. So that only applies to behavioural techniques. And if you're thinking, what is behavioural techniques? Well, behavioural techniques are anything they are asking what you've done in the past. So it will always, behavioural questions will always start off with, tell me about a time, describe a time, I'm just trying to think of tell me, describe. It always relates back to the past. So anything that does relate back to the past and the interviewee trying to grab a hold of an example, they believe that would be what you would possibly do in the future. So that's the reason why they're behavioural techniques. It's a really, really good way for the interviewee to see how much potential you really have. So when you're answering in behavioural questioning, you really need to keep it to I. So let me give you an example for that. So say, for instance, if I had said the question, tell me about a time you dealt with a conflict within your team. So if I said something like, what we did is we decided to get together on a break, and we all sat down and we decided to discuss our problems, and then it was resolved. Or if this is what happened, and obviously take it from a real life example, or if I was to say there was a problem in the team, I was having difficulties with understanding the future objective of this person and what they were trying to do. So what I did is I created a meeting where we could all sit down and discussed our issues or point of differences. And I initiated that for the team to sit down to do that. And as a result, the communication was effective and we were able to go back to our jobs and, work effectively. So can you see how just that shift of saying I and what you have been responsible for is a massive difference to making a better impact in your job interview. And I see even the most professional people don't use the word I when I'm asking behavioural techniques, and it is absolutely incredible, and it's a very, very essential that you do, because otherwise I'm left with, well, what did this person doesn't really have that sort of strong leadership or set apart from the other people, because I just don't know what this person does. Is he a follower? Is he just part of the herd? Is he really wanting to show that initiative? Whereas the second example shows all of that. It shows a very strong ability to problem solve and take leadership and be responsible. So there's quite a few areas that can be very, very picked out very quickly in behavioural techniques. So that's why it's really good to have someone to do a mock interview, because you get examples in your mind as to what you might be able to share instead of being stuck. And there are so many different behavioural techniques. There'll be ones on communication, conflict resolution, where you've improved things in the past. That and all the other sort of technical questions, not behavioural, technical questions is, how long have you been in your current role? What is the biggest client that you've brought in? What was the amount of that? What did you do to do that? So they're all technical questions. So what else can I tell you? So some of the other technical questions would be, tell me about a time that you've developed a successful relationship with a customer. So once again, you focus on the situation, what were your actions, what was the result. Write it in bullet points. When you write it in bullet points, you can actually talk back in the job interview in bullet points. So it's really quite effective technique, and it stops the person from rambling on. And there are loads of ramblers, and sometimes they go right around the corner, up the hill, round the roundabout about 10 times, and then they go to the finish line, and I have absolutely no idea what that person actually did. It is, and it's really, really hard to keep your eyes open, actually listening to some of the stuff that people do in an interview. Keep it short, effective, and talk like you're talking in bullet points. We want facts, and also focusing on what you did, and then the results. So some of the other questions: tell me about a time you've used good judgment in solving a problem. Describe a time when you didn't agree with the manager. What did you do and what happened? I think I mentioned before, tell me about a time where you've made process improvement. What did you improve, and how did you do it, and how effective was it? So they are all, there is literally over 200 behavioural questions, but they will be probably the most well used in a job interview. So hopefully that gives you a really, really good snapshot of some key areas, which is so important to make a very effective resume, but also a very, very effective job interview as well. All right, all the best. Thank you.